Yo, what up, people? Smith still motherfucking are here today with my shitty ass fucking curtains in the background. As always, here to, of course, to give you guys Log Horizon Episode 2 motherfucking review. Now, we gotta talk about something though, because I'm getting like a lot of people who also are watching this shit are telling me about it too, and they're like always like, "Oh my god, Log Horizon over SAO." And look, look, they're both anime, and they're both about the same sort of like scenario trapped in the game. Okay? It's only episode 2. We gotta watch the whole series before we start to compare them. Please. I mean, just don't jump in, like the first episode, like, yeah, this is the shit. Fuck SAO, that's whole. No, look, SAO did have good things going for it. And so is All Horizon. Like, for right now, because the first 30 seconds of this episode probably got like a shitload of people that were like SAO over Log Horizon. They were like, oh fuck, because there's no, like, we found out in the first 30 seconds that no death. Basically, what that means is that if you die, you just respawn as like a fresh character in the city. And so it took away like that horror aspect that a lot of people were expecting, like from SAO, like, oh my god, if you die, it's over for you. But no, that's not the case. But it has an alternative spin. So if anything, wait until Log Horizon is over before you start comparing it to SAO, because you got to look at the big pictures. And you know what? Fuck. After Log Horizon is over, I'll even do a comparison, and I'll go into in depth about each fucking series, and then we will compare them, and I'll let you guys decide which one you think is better. Okay. With that being said, so in the beginning we learn, of course, that death, like I said, is not permanent. If you die in this world, you get restarted as what I'm believing as a fresh spawn, same level and everything, just like any other MMORPG. You don't die permanently. You just get reset. You lose all your shit. And at first, because again, that takes away that horror aspect. Like if you go out and you die, that's it for you. And you know what? It really brought it back though, because I was just thinking of it like, oh man, so like basically no matter what happens, death is just it's nothing. Like you can die and it doesn't really matter. But then when they started explaining it more, I really started getting the picture after they were attacked by a group of PKers, because PKing is on the rise. And like apparently if you fight in town, so these Royal Noble Guards will come down, and if you do not surrender immediately, they'll kill you on the spot. Like legit, just fucking damage. So this game obviously does have like rules and like spawn NPCs and shit like that. And it has areas where PKing can happen, like before you get into a town, for instance, that's where a lot of PKing happens. And we get really into like subclasses and like, hey, let's just break it down. I'm gonna get back to this whole death thing in a minute, but first let's break down this fight, okay? So basically, classes are coming into play for this fight, and of course, this motherfucker is a strategist. Shiro is a strategist, and so we learn a little bit more about his powers. Apparently, he's like he's a mage, but I believe, I'm not sure exactly what type of mage he is, because he's using astral magic and he's using enchanting magic. Like he's using enchant spells. And he's like some type of offensive mage, but his offensive power isn't like that great or something. And that kind of disappointed me, because I was like, man, we ain't gonna see no like crazy ass like badass explosions. Like he's like the top motherfucker, just puts down his staff and just like fire wall or some shit, and everything just sets ablaze. Just sets ablaze. I don't think we're gonna see nothing like that. But he's very smart and he's very strategic, and basically he uses magic like basically, for when I see him, they're like charms. Like he'll charm you to go to sleep, like using astral magic for you to go to sleep, or he'll use like low-level bind spells. And he's a high level, he's max level, so he's being very tactical. He's using stuff that people wouldn't think of, like he's using those crappy spells that a lot of people don't really think about. He isn't like all like just blast a fireball at your ass. No. He's like using like really clever magic. He's using like the low level spells to his advantage, because they do have possibilities. Like this one bitch, she's coming at him and I believe she's like sort of like a mage too, but not really. She has like these two scythe things, and she's running at this motherfucker, and he just goes like binding, basic spell, and apparently because of this, she can no longer rush at him. She can't use her speed as an advantage. She's forced to like do like these bunny hops, and at first she was like flying, she was blasting towards this motherfucker, and then that came. Now she's like bunny hopping towards his ass. So I'm digging this dude's magic. I mean, he did put their mages, their healer to sleep, and that's what basically won it for him. And he used like these low level spells that really don't do that much damage, and they're like these little tiny like electric balls, and they're just floating around these people, and they're just laughing at him because it's like, man, I don't feel a thing. It's like, you're not doing shit. But he did that for a reason. He's creating this light so that they don't see his mage, in the darkness, that she's actually asleep. They're more focused on, this fucking light falling around him and shit like that. And then we get a little bit more in with Nile. His name's like Nio Tsuga or some shit. I'm calling him Nile because Nile, this dude's a tank. Basically, that's like his class. He's like a tank class, and basically he has this ability where basically he's like a tank class, which means he can take a lot of damage, and he's used to taking damage. And his like ability forces all his opponents to hone in on him, and if they don't, then he can like do this magical fucking like offensive spell. Like if you turn your back on this motherfucker, he can just like warp towards your ass and just slash your ass down and do massive damage. And so that also works because now they can't attack the mage who's doing all this shit. It isn't, he uses this spell, which basically while they're all honed in on him and they're attacking, they're getting his life down and all that. But at the same time, he's fighting back, and they're not really worried about it because they're like, oh yeah, we got a healer in the back. We're good. If we need healing, we got healing. And then this is when this motherfucker, Shiro, he activates this spell, and it's like some sort of like thorn magic. And these thorns go around everybody's like body, like a couple of dudes' bodies. And apparently, it's like if these thorns are on you, they're basically like an attachment. And if they get cut, like when an ally deals damage to you, you take 1,000 points of damage of health. Cause these bitches like explode off your body, and he takes out two dudes like that. And this dude thinks like, oh yeah, we got this healer, we're about to heal up, we're about to take him down. The one bitch, she just blitzes out. She's like, oh my god, I don't want this shit to happen to me. We're losing big time. She blitzes out. This dude's like, what are you doing? You forgot my rule, didn't you? You don't turn your back on me, and just fucking cuts her ass down. And then this dude is basically like, okay, come on, assemble, because apparently they have people that aren't with the original group. And this is when, of course, Akatsuki takes them out. She just comes in walking with them, just dragging their ass. They're done. They're knocked out. And we find out that she's like a ninja. Like, cause her skills are like assassin, which basically makes it so that she's fast with her strikes, and she kills motherfuckers like fast. And she also has tracker, which makes her very sneaky. So she's legit like a hardcore role player when it comes to these games. So she'll kill your ass fast and sneakily. She's like a ninja, and she's hardcore role player. So she comes to dragging these dudes. And this dude's like, okay, healer. And he's like, your healer's been asleep. I've been using those magical balls to distract your ass and keep this area lit so that you couldn't see the darkness over there. And mad props. And then this dude's like, okay, I won't do this ever again. He's on his ground. He's begging for his life. Then he's like, fuck that shit. Just pull out a knife and run towards his ass. He's about to stab Shiro. Gets cut in half. Nigga done. Then they go into the town, and basically Shiro's explaining the whole situation about why death is, when it's not there, is like a very intriguing situation. Players can survive very easily, just kill a couple of low-level monsters to make some money, stay at an inn, where you don't have to worry about being attacked, but there isn't really anything to do right now, except for PKing. But think about it, you're really bored. Everybody thinks this is the same old, older world, and these areas are massive. this world is massive, and they're just like, we're bored. I mean, look at all these little monsters. I mean, we die and we come back, so it doesn't really matter anymore, does it? I mean, the food's tasteless, but we got a supply of it. You know, an infinite supply. We just kill a couple low-level, easy-ass monsters, and then we just come back here, we eat, and we chill at the tavern. And it's a boring life. There's, like, no excitement, no fun in it. You know, I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to survive, and if you die, I mean, there's no consequence. So that whole idea of, like, oh my god, if I don't fight and survive, then I'm gonna die, and then that's over for me. No, that's gone. And so all these people, like, there's no way for them to live in here. Like, you know, they can't really live. And Shiro himself is like, man, I'm getting kind of bored too. I mean, PKing's the only real activity that you can have fun in, really. And I mean, if you die, it doesn't make real. It is a real consequence. You're just dead. And that's a really interesting situation, because I mean, there's no way to really escape, and so you're just stuck day after day. You know, just chilling at this tavern with no TV. You know, no nothing in this middle-aged time, and I mean, it's getting kind of boring. I mean, there's like quests and shit, like they don't know about it. You know, they don't know where to go to get this shit. And not only that, but then when you mix it in with like all these like groups of people that are like small clans are getting smaller and massive clans are rising up. And when you take into account the scale of this apparently this world is like the size of Japan, like this island, like this giant ass island, Japan, and then it's just half giga, which basically means that it's like they take it and then they shrink it, so they compress like the forest and take them like they make the forest smaller, but you know they keep the realism sense in there. Like it won't be like a big ass like 900-mile forest between this and long ass roads and shit. No, they'll half it and they'll be like, okay, like 450, you know. And so basically, yeah, so it's a big world. And so, you know, all these people throughout all these different areas. And then, this is when stuff gets back to what I was waiting for. Because I was like, the entire time I was like, wait a minute, what happened to that little girl and shit? Because that was like, apparently it's like a month later and shit. And I'm just like, what about that little girl? Like, what the fuck happened? And basically they go to meet this fucking, you know, that clan of girls. I can't remember exactly their fucking name. I can't right now. Basically, they're saying like, we're gonna send a party out and we're gonna go get them, but we just need you to watch, you know, our local members over here, because it isn't very safe over in these other cities, in these big ass areas. Traveling there alone is gonna take like 21 days in a month for them, and he's going through all these possibilities in like this slow motion time in their head. And he's basically like, they can't go. Even if they had a healer, they wouldn't make it. And so basically Shiro is gonna go for them now. And they get the whole situation, like, apparently the area is like much worse, and like fighting and looting and all types of shit. And apparently this little girl, she was being chased by these dudes, and then she got saved by this man, and now they're in hiding in the city. And I see this as a good thing. Why is that? Because they're riding horses for a while, and they're, you know, they're going through like, oh my god, my sword, oh fuck. Of course, Niall. This is not fucking. And the thing is, they call fucking griffins. And so it makes sense why they decided to go. I mean, because she's like, Akatsuki, she's wondering why the fuck they call like these griffins, like, you know, in the middle of nowhere. Because apparently they're only going to ride horse somewhat the way there. And then they're going to call griffins. And when they call them, they come down. She's like surprised, and she's like, I've heard about these items, but I've never seen them. And it's coming back to the whole debauchery tea party thing. Like, these dudes used to be on debauchery tea party. Remember, because when we first, episode 1, he's like, man, I haven't seen you in like a couple of years. You're still on? Like, yeah, fine, you know, so these dudes, apparently, they were once part of debauchery tea party. And I have a feeling that there might be other members of debauchery tea party that they're going to meet throughout this anime. And, like, find a way to, like, because it's a different world than the one that they knew back in the olden days when they got all these rare items and shit and beat all these massive areas. So there's probably like this new like sort of like dungeon or something that they have to go through that's going to be hard as shit, and they're going to need to, you know, they're going to need all their members in order to get through that. And it's going to be like this kindling of this old group of people that used to just be acquaintances. They weren't really a clan, but they were still like friends, and they meet up just out of the blue, like, yo, let's go fuck this shit up. So I'm digging that. I really am. And so we're starting to see, and then she gets on. It's, of course, Shiro and Akatsuki on the same one. She red face, master red face, and now they're flying through the air. Open your eyes. It's beautiful. And then, so they're on their way to this different city that is like 425 kilometers away or something like that. 435 kilometers away in this world. So that's a long ass traveling distance. That is. So they're going to be going for a while. This ain't no like cutscene, so they're going to be flying for a while. And once they get there, just picture all this shit. They could go, we'll see. We'll just have to wait. And with that being said, overall, this episode, you know what? I'm digging it. I am. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to give this episode right here. When it comes to the fighting, it was good. And the information we got is good. And now they're going on this quest line, it was good. The whole death thing was, at first, like, kind of bad, but then it got really good. I'll give it a 9.1 out of 10. Yeah, I'll say this was, yeah, I'll give it a great episode. Yeah, great. I'm going to give it that great just because of the fact they took that whole death aspect and they removed it, and it still became a good thing. It's just like, bro, like, picture if you had to spend your entire life in a fucking game and just didn't do shit. You had to take everything. That would be kind of boring, wouldn't it? I mean, like, no technology is, oh god, that would suck so bad. Like a lot of us don't think about this, but what if, what if we weren't born in the, 20th fucking century, the 21st century? What type of shit would we have to be going, like that would be, just think about people who used to live in the old times. That would be boring as fuck. Like, oh my, we don't even know. We take that shit for granted so hard. I'm not even, like, oh my, just picture the boring ass shit that they do. Like legit, every day was life or death. Oh my. It would be exciting, but I mean, at the same time, it would be pretty boring. I mean, you can't just break out the fucking phone and be like, yo, what up? No, you'd have to, like, travel by horseback, like, 50 miles down the fucking road to see this motherfucker. In this other castle with all this, like, we're done. So with that being said, dismiss to my fucking honor. Peace the fuck out.